everybody here today, and we'll be doing the budget hearing for the fire department. And Lauren, who will we have? Is Henderson or Bauer Week?
You got it. Kim Bauer Weeks will be giving an overview for our office.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you very much. The proposed FY23 budget for the fire department totals $121.5 million. As you can see on page 1 of the analysis, the general fund portion of the budget totals $118.8 million and increases by $6.6 million or 5.9%. The budget increase is primarily due to increased personnel expenses, including cost of living adjustments, increments and longevities, and callback. The special fund portion of the budget totals $2.7 million and decreases by $499,000 or 15.4%, due primarily to a reduced level of funding for several grants, partially offset by a proposed new fire deployments program appropriation. This new program is being established to account for reimbursements from other jurisdictions for costs such as overtime incurred by departmental personnel who have been deployed to assist the other jurisdictions with their training and/or emergency operations. Previously, these funds were deposited into the county's general fund. On page 2, the pie chart shows how the proposed funding will be allocated across areas of spending. As you can see, fire, EMS program personnel represent the largest spending area. On page 3, the exhibit identifies the significant increases and decreases from FY 2022 to FY 2023 to the general and special funds. Beginning at the bottom of page 3, the analysis also notes the areas within the budget that support new initiatives where potential reductions could be identified if the council wanted to explore such options. Topics for discussion, which begin on page 4, include personnel, volunteer fire companies, capital projects, and equipment. Other informational topics, which begin on page 11, include Sparrows Point Fire Station and Police Substation, new Upper Cove Volunteer Station, billings for emergency medical services transports, and departmental operational review. At this time, I would like to turn it over for discussion. Thank you.
Well, we certainly thank you, Ms. Bauer Weeks, and we certainly thank you for your over 25 years of service to Baltimore County. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sure. And any questions or comments from the members? None? Why don't we move right along? Chief Ron, it's always good to see you.
You as well, sir. And thank you for this opportunity to present our budget to you today. It is an honor to be able to promote the fire department budget here before you today. The fire department supports the county's efforts to deploy good fiscal practices and can identify with the impact that COVID crisis has made on this economy. The department is weary from the impact on COVID as reflected in the loss of our personnel and the increased need for service, and we will need to make great strides towards keeping the service level that is expected from our citizens. The requests put forth in this budget are reflective of that and are made in that spirit. The department as a whole is very thankful for any and all budget efforts that the county and the county council will provide, and we would like to make a request to the council to fully support the budget proposal for the fire department. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Before we get started, any questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Mark.
Thank you very much. Chief Ron, I want to begin by thanking you for the many times you've helped my office. I also want to thank you for what I think is a very collaborative relationship with the Baltimore County Professional Firefighters Association. I continue to hear about how much you work with John Sabega and his officers, and I think that's excellent. So thank you for doing that. My question, and I think you probably might be expecting that I'm going to ask this, looking forward to new volunteer fire companies in the Middle River, Bullies Quarters areas, what are your thoughts on that, given the fact that we've had so much success in building other stations like White Marsh and Kingsville. What needs to happen to at least take some steps forward there?
Thank you for that question, Councilman Marks, and also thank you very much for your support as well. I enjoy working with everyone. And to answer your question with regards to Middle River and Bowley's Quarters, I believe we need to start with a discussion with those two companies for the need for service in that area. That need is great, and it is definitely something that we need to look forward to in the future. However, we need to make sure that that service is reflective of what the county is going to need in the future years. So, sir, I believe we're going to need to start with discussions with each one of those volunteer fire companies and talk about what was recommended back in their VFIS report, which was a merger. And I would fully support that, and I would be willing to work towards that with them. However, the BCVFA is their umbrella organization, and we would need to organize that effort through them, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of different opinions on that, and I look forward to having that discussion hopefully in years to come. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Kent.
Yeah, just a couple questions. How are you?
I'm doing great.
You're doing great. I'm doing great. And the chief is smiling, so I guess she's doing great. But I just have two questions. Number one, are fire systems in the state having problems recruiting people to fill vacancies?
Thank you, Councilman Catch, for that question. And yes, sir, they are. The interesting thing about that is we seem to be in the same circle at the same timelines of hiring, and benefits are crucial when it comes to that and decision making for personnel with regards to what department they're going to go work for. However, we do have a wonderful group of people that really love Baltimore County that we seem to be able to pull from. And we will continue those efforts in looking for those that prefer to work in our county because they love our county best.
Are we real competitive? I mean, it appears that we are. I mean, would that be a true statement?
We are within the reasoning area. Yes, sir.
And the other thing regarding the volunteer fire companies, I know that some of them still use the siren. Are all of the volunteer fire companies provided with the same communication system so if there is a call, everyone in that fire company gets the alarm to come and help with the fire or emergency?
There are several different approaches to their alerting systems, and the very first one is through our 911 system that goes out into their stations through what is called our CAD system. That is alerted directly into the fire stations, which in some stations then alerts their fire siren. However, everyone has the ability to tap into what is called active 911 on their cell phones. So they can have an alerting system through that aspect as well. In addition to a third piece of alerting, which is a pager system, which we have recently just started working with the Lutherville Volunteer Fire Company to explore the options of these really nice new pagers. Their pager system when the volunteer side is antiquated currently at this time, so we are exploring other avenues with them to make that a better effort to dispatch them. However, we have to make sure that those pagers are foolproof and that they will provide an absolute response request before we can ask them to turn their sirens off, sir.
I wonder why you mentioned Lutherville. We all know. So thank you very much. Really
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
I hear you say pager system? That will work with the smartphones that people own?
Yeah. Isn't that neat?
Sounds like something we did like 15 years, 50 years ago. I don't know. When you say
It
that,
is.
I'm sort of like taken back a little bit.
It is, sir. It is. There's just some challenges to the low band system that we currently have. But we have identified some new ones that were brought to our attention, and we are exploring that effort right now with the assistance of the Operation Information Technology Department.
Okay, so I'm just curious. I was just thinking in my mind about one of the questions that Councilman Jack asked. You talked about hiring new applicants. And I know that we have a 30-year retirement. And I know I come from Anne Arundel, although I worked for 32 years, but we had a 20-year retirement. And I thought that most jurisdictions have a 25-year retirement. I'm wondering, do you think the fact that we have a 30-year retirement hampers our ability to hire people?
Thank you for that question, sir. And I believe that the retirement system with which we currently work in is affecting to some extent. However, we do not know the exact extent. We are taking a look at that. Obviously, a shorter retirement period would definitely make it more promising, but we are not out of the area. All of our surrounding jurisdictions have different retirement years, and Anne Arundel we can't compete with. We know that.
I think we can do better, personally, but that's a different story. I refuse to say we can't compete with everybody. Any additional questions or comments from the members? I jumped in there. I normally go last. I apologize.
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chair.
Yes, Councilman Quirk. And
Oh,
Councilman Quirk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And good afternoon, Chief. It's good to see you, albeit virtually. Just a quick and brief question, kind of skipping ahead to more the capital side of the audit questions. Any update on the Catonsville Fire Station, or how we looking on that? Obviously, important priority.
Thank you, Councilman Quirk, for that question. We are progressing very nicely with that effect, sir. Getting bids in with regards to the properties that we are looking at, and we are working right along with property management, who is leading that project.
Any ETA? I mean, is this something we might see in the next couple years? Any timeline on this one?
I'm very hopeful for that, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Well, I see the, what is it, 3.7 million in the budget for it, right? And I guess we have not identified the land yet.
We have a couple of locations identified, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Any Councilman? Sure, Councilman Patoka.
Just to follow up on a couple of the council members' comments, I think on the Catonsville station, the longer we take to get started on that, the costlier it's going to be. Everything I'm hearing from the construction industry and the building industry is that given supply chain construction costs, anything we estimate today, it's not a strong estimate because prices are going up so quickly. So just to follow up to Councilman Quirk's inquiry, I do think that if we are going to do it, we should do it as quickly as possible to get the best cost for the county.
Thank you, Councilman Patoka, and I would agree, sir.
Sure. Okay, but the question I was trying to get clarity on service. This is a follow-up to Chairman Jones's comment on what the current status is for years of service for retirement, and how we can become more competitive with neighboring jurisdictions in terms of what that requirement is, and how we can be a more attractive fire department than other jurisdictions in in Maryland. And I was hoping you could comment on that, Chief.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And thank you for that question, sir. We are currently compiling that information so that we may provide that to the administration for future review and for recommendations. And we'll be happy to also provide that information to you all and provide you an update. At this time, we have a cursory look at it, and we know we are not way out of the area of being competitive. However, we do know, as Councilman Jones said, and I'm always a person that likes to do better on every effort, so we know we can make great strides in that area as well. So we will be happy to provide you with an update on that once we compile all that information.
What's the current requirement to be adequately vested?
A minimum of 25 years, sir.
Okay. And are we trying to make that less? What's our goal?
We will be looking at that to determine what would be the best competitive rate to put us within that top range.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chief, any additional questions? Yeah, we have.
I do have one more question.
Let's hear from Ms. Rogers and then we'll come back.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, council members. Just wanted to add one other piece to the consideration in terms of our benchmarking. We not only benchmark years of service, but other benefits, starting salary, educational benefits. There's a whole range of benefits that we are benchmarking with other comparable jurisdictions. So that comes into play as well with respect to determining how competitive we are. So we are looking at that full range of benefits, as well as salary, as well as training, as well as years of service for vestiture, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Mark.
Yeah, I mean, the only other question that I just thought of, because the comptroller was down at Middle River Volunteer Fire Company 2 weeks ago. I guess, did they get a new squad car down there or vehicle down there? And there was some question about getting radios in that. Just bringing that up.
Thank you for that question, Councilman Marks. And they have replaced their squad with a fire engine that they would like to make a squad. And we are currently reviewing that at this time. As far as the radio goes, the radio from their old squad would be transferred into their new squad. So a radio should not be in question.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chief Rung, there's never mind. I'm not gonna get into that. It reminded me of probably, I don't know, maybe 28, 27 years ago or something. I was working at a station called Green Haven, and we had a ladder truck there, and the ladder truck was broke. We didn't have any more reserves, so we had to turn the fire engine into a ladder truck. What that meant was we looked like a circus wagon. We went around and grabbed as many ground ladders as we could, took the hose off the fire engine, and bungee corded them all in the back of the hose bed, strapped them down, and we called that a ladder truck or a reserve truck. And it just sort of like makes me think of the old saying about making chicken salad, what you gotta have and what you can't have. But I won't get into all that right now. Was there another question?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, talking, okay.
Yes.
Chief, and I guess this has to do with all okay, first of all, the salary scale for our firefighters. It is competitive Is that a true statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And secondly, and just to remark, I certainly have nothing against trying to take a look at our retirement system, comparing it to other counties, et cetera. I just find it to be amazing. I know when I first started teaching in Baltimore County Public Schools, and my wife did as well, I don't think we, think, well, for years or that kind of thing. I think the longer that you're teaching, then you begin to think of what your retirement benefits are going to be and how many years are left before you can collect them. So my question, Chief, do applicants really look that closely into retirement?
Thank you for that question, sir. And there are personnel that we hire that analyze all the different aspects of the hiring, because all the different counties have such a very different way of listing their benefits, as Madam CAO listed. Although our salary starting out may be a little bit lower than one of the other companies, we may have a higher or a quicker promotional or step up option for them. So they honestly look at all different aspects of it. I remember when I got hired many years ago, my goal was security and retirement at the end, and exactly how long was it going to take me to get there. So to answer your question, yes, sir, there are some that take a look at that, especially with this profession being as difficult as it is on you physically and mentally. Yes, sir, they do look at that.
I again can remember when I
Mr.
was
Chair,
looking for a job, to get a job in the schools, not candidates than there were positions. So, now that it's the opposite, I'm very happy to hear that people are looking at every single, you know, the salary, the retirement, the promotions, all of that. I'd say that's very good. And we definitely need to be competitive so that we can keep the best. Hire and keep the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Catch.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Rogers?
Yes, I just wanted to concur with Chief Run and addressing Councilmember Catch's position about weighing the options. We have to remember that there are some instances where candidates in our pool come from other jurisdictions. So in making that final decision, they have to look at, far more than just the salary. And I'll tell you, in the public sector, period, right now, one of our topics among the county administrative officers and the city administrative officer is the competition among all of the various disciplines for qualified candidates that we can attract and retain for the long term. There's a shortage in so many different fields. So of course, individuals, for example, who would be transferring from elsewhere, they're looking at a number of things as to what would be in their best interest. Transferring time in, of course, is possible, but then what other benefits would they have if they came to Baltimore County? So it's really two pools, brand new folks coming in and then folks who transfer from other jurisdictions. And retirement is a big piece. Investiture is a big piece for attracting individuals.
Well, I would suspect anything dealing with information is more readily accessible nowadays.
Yeah.
It's much easier to compare. So let me see. I guess I had a question about So we obviously, how many vacancies do we have, Chief?
Currently at this time, we have about, I'm going to lean on Sharnetta for this one as our most updated number. Sharnetta?
It's 47.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
So if we were to fill the 47, are we capable of training 47 at one time?
No, sir, we are not capable of training 47. The most that we can host in a class right now in the current venue that we have is 34, sir.
Is that one shift, 34?
34.
Okay. I'm going to say that I'll talk to you offline, but I think with some imagination, and I would think you would know this more than anybody, having a background of coming from Howard County. I remember when we had an issue where we had to hire an awful lot of people, and the question was, how could we possibly do it given our current configuration? We looked to the model that Howard County had when Howard County did not have a training academy, but they had a bus, and they utilized everybody else's resources to because we all share and work together to be able to put a class through. So when we had to do that, we decided, well, we would get a bus. We would have different shifts. We would have one group doing one thing while another group's doing another thing. The biggest issue we had was the locker room space, and we worked something out with that. And there you have it. We were able to train, close to 100 people at one time. And I suspect if we pay some overtime, get some more staffing down there, we probably could do more than 35. But I'll have that conversation with you.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, Chief, just a quick follow-up on that question is on those 40-some vacancies, does that reflect the known retirements that are happening soon, or after the retirements, are you anticipating to be having larger vacancies after some of the retirements coming up?
We're going to have larger vacancies once those retirements come up.
Okay.
Looks like Chairman Jones is scrolling. Yeah, it looks like he might be offline. I saw him go offline there. Any idea what that number is, Chief? Once we get a fair amount of people retiring, do we know what number that might be? We might be looking at in the next couple months.
So we also have a current class in progress right now, and we have 28 students in that class. So we're going to reduce 28 off of that. But how many, Sharnetta, what's our retirement projection in July?
We are anticipating beginning the fiscal year for counting July. We're anticipating at least 70 vacancies.
So 70 retirements on top of the current vacancies. Am I understanding that right, Sharnetta?
No, including the 47. So it would be an additional up to 70.
Oh, okay. So it's not that, relative to, for example, the Department of Police, who I know are really struggling with vacancies. Okay. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people I talk to out there, lots of demand, a lot of volunteers that want to join up with the firefighters, and a lot of people seem to be interested in joining up with the firefighters too. So I sense a lot of young people very interested in just getting the class and getting seated and moving along. So feel pretty good about kind of where we're at long term with the firefighters for sure. I see Chairman Jones, I was stalling for you while you were offline, so I'm going to be quiet now.
Okay, well, I thank you, because I was wondering, all my screen with everything was spinning. It says connection problems, and I wasn't sure what was going on and whether you could hear me or not. So, I was goofing off, and then I thought, maybe they can hear me. Let me keep quiet. But anyway, I think that, thank you, Councilman Quirk. And I'm assuming that that's it with the members. Any questions or comments? Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, one more thing, Chief.
Yes, sir.
In reviewing the budget, I was really concerned about, I see where we're making a lot of improvements for the washers and the dryers. But I want to talk about what is the rate that we are looking to remodel some of these older stations that go around the Beltway. I'm thinking of things like Rock Raven and some of these other stations. I mean, when I go to visit these stations and I see the original windows in there from 1960 something or and I'm looking at these windows and I put my hand up to it. I'm wondering how much money are we paying to heat and cool some of these older stations that I guess know that there has to be savings in us investing to remodel these places versus having a fire station basically look the way it did in 19 whatever, whenever we built it, like some of the first stations we built looping the Beltway.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that question. And we are actually very excited because property management is currently having a company come in and take a look at all of the buildings within the county and identifying a projected replacement or remodel schedule for those buildings. And we are included in that process. So we're very excited about that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I guess my question is, I care about the fire department, and some of the things that I would just be honest, some of the things that I thought was absolutely crazy. Okay, getting down to some of the furniture in some of these stations. If property management is going to look at the fire station, then they need, and I'll have this conversation with property management and anybody else. They need to look at the fact that certain if the county owns a building, we okay with putting furniture in the building. But when the county owns a fire station, we somehow expect people to go out and bring in old furniture from their home or from wherever the heck they get it from. I mean, some of these things is out. It's just absolutely crazy to me. And I'm gonna be quite frank. I know we can do better. And I know Anne Arundel County like the back of my hand, and some of our worst stations were better than some of the things that I saw. And I know we can do better. So right now, money seems to be falling out of the sky. Everybody's getting every project they ever thought of and ever wanted. And I just want to make sure the fire department don't miss the boat, so to speak. So I'm not so sure the property management is, I mean, let's hear it, Ms. Rogers. Let's hear how the fire department is going to be at the front of the list and how you're working really hard and you're going to budget God knows how much money to fix these stations so that we don't keep spending the money in energy costs and God only knows what else.
Yes, sir. We're taking a proactive look, but I want to address furniture. Sir, we have definitely begun to address from the point that I arrived, especially about chairs in all of the fire stations. When I arrived, I was advised of similar information like you cited about people bringing things from home, but even worse than that, Goodwill, dumpsters, other places. And it was my intent, and we were able to successfully take care of getting new chairs for all of the stations that needed chairs. I just found that totally unacceptable. I needed a chair in my office as well. However, I said I refuse to get a new chair before the fire stations get their chairs. And when the chairs came in, Chief Ron in property management allowed me to go to the fire station down, actually, Councilmember Quirk in your district, to deliver that first order of chairs. So we started, that was our first attempt, that's the end, but this comprehensive look at the physical buildings and what we can do to enhance the fire stations is definitely something that we have taken proactive steps to do, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I mean, Ms. Rogers and Chief Rung, clearly these stations are, a focal point in the community. They're the place where a lot of folks in the community go for various reasons. And I just think that they should be presented well, and we should make sure that people, the firefighters that are there, are as comfortable as possible. Any additional
Chair?
questions? Yes.
Yes. While we're on the topic of chairs, I just want to thank Chris Belcastro, because I had Gary Huddle's chair. And it's an old chair. And so I just want to publicly thank Chris Belcastro for updating my chair. But I, like the Madam CAO, am happy that the fire department is also getting chairs.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Councilman Coker. Any additional
Sure.
questions or comments? I see we have Ms. Rosalind Johnson here from Rec and Parks. So we're going to switch gears now. Thank you, Chief Rung. We thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Councilman and Council Chair and everyone that was on. Thank you, Madam CAO, for your full support today.
As always, Chief.
All right. Well, now we'll move right along. Take care of this first. We'll move right along to Rec and Parks. And we will start with Mrs. Baldwin.
Good afternoon. The proposed fiscal year 2023 budget for the Department of Recreation and Parks totals $20.1 million, an increase of $1.6 million or 8.8% over the fiscal year 2022 budget, excluding $753,000 in the new Revenue Producing Facilities Program in the Recreational Facilities Enterprise Fund. As a side note, a Gifts and Grants Fund appropriation for the Revenue Producing Facilities Program was erroneously included in the budget appropriation ordinance. An amendment is necessary to delete this appropriation since the council does not appropriate funding for enterprise fund programs. The Revenue Producing Facilities Program to be implemented at Loch Raven Fishing Center, Rocky Point Park, and Miami Beach Park is discussed beginning on page 6 of the analysis. As you can see on page 1 of the analysis, the largest portion of the department's budget, the general fund budget, totals $15.3 million and increases by $1.4 million or 9.9%, primarily due to increased personnel expenses, including a minimum wage increase to $15 per hour, 13 new positions, COLAs, and salary review, offset by the cost associated with the transfer of 30 positions to the new Revenue Producing Facilities Program. The special fund portion of the budget totals $4.8 million and increases by $241,000 or 5.3%. due primarily to increases in the group leadership grant program for activity leadership salaries. On page 2, the pie charts show how the proposed funding will be allocated across areas of spending. Recreation services represents the largest program allocation, while personnel costs represent the largest type of expenditure. On page 3, the exhibit identifies the significant increases and decreases from fiscal year 2022 to fiscal year 2023 to the general and special funds. Beginning at the bottom of page 3, the analysis also notes the areas within the budget that support new initiatives or flexibility in terms of the hiring process, where potential reductions could be identified if the council wanted to explore such options. Topics for discussion, which begin on page 4, include personnel, new revenue producing facilities, new and continued initiatives, impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on operations, and capital projects. At this time, I would like to turn it over for discussion.
Okay, I thank you very much for your very thorough presentation. And any questions, comments from the members? Okay, we will hear from Ms. Rosalind Johnson.
Good afternoon, Council Chair and council members. I would first like to start with a thank you to everyone for supporting our department as always. We've had a very busy year at Recreation and Parks. We've assisted with COVID test kit distributions, vaccination staffing. We've trained our staff in CPR and first aid. We have had NRPA, National Recreation and Parks Association, as well as Maryland Recreation and Parks Association trainings for our staff. We've undergone a realignment. We've created department-directed programs. PAL centers have been moved under department-directed programs. We've started a LGBTQIA+ teen-friendly program, and we've also started our PAL teen programs. This past year, they have participated in basketball, an inter-center basketball league. We are doing teen financial literacy classes. We've also started our strategy and critical thinking as well as reasoning programs for our Teen Alliance Chess Club. And we're planning on taking our teens to nature-oriented trips and excursions this summer. And all of our PAL centers will have teen programming thanks to thanks to ARPA funding. And we're still on our upward trajectory in increasing our budget. As I've presented here many times before, I'm thankful that the administration, especially our county executive, as well as county council, have all committed to moving our department forward and funding us closer to the national average. And I'm happy to say that this budget brings us up to $16.90.
Something's happening, Roz, with your sound. Can't hear you.
You muted?
Did you inadvertently mute?
No, she is not muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, that was weird. I didn't touch anything. So I'm not sure where I last left off.
$16 an hour.
Okay, so we're $16.90 per resident, which is up from $16.26. So we're making great strides. Harford County is currently at $45 per resident. Our neighbors in Howard County are at $159 per resident. Baltimore City's at $78 per resident, and Anne Arundel County is at $47 per resident. But the thing about us is we're growing smart. So we might not be as fast as people would like to see, but we're making smart decisions and we're being good stewards of taxpayers' dollars. So I'm very grateful to this administration as well as to the county council for helping to move our department forward. And with that being said, I will turn it back to you, Council Chair.
I thank you, Ms. Johnson. We certainly appreciate all your effort and that of the county executive, current administration to really move forward in terms of providing additional recreation opportunities to the citizens of Baltimore County. Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Batoka.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to share with you, as I've shared with the administration and Madam CAO, is that the second district continues to not have a standalone rec center. And I think it's, we're totally at the mercy of the school system for any recreational facilities for indoor rec. And I think that as the administration moves towards the end of the first term and if everything goes successful, that the administration moves into the second term, then having a standalone rec center in the second district be something that that we start to look forward to. There are opportunities that have been shared with the administration over the years, and I think there's opportunities that that continue. And as Chairman Jones pointed out, we seem to be in a state of in a state where we weren't as restricted by funding as we were in the past, and in terms of the ability to fund capital projects, one-time funding. So I just wanted to share that with you, that it's something that we've done in other parts of the county, where I know that sometimes we need public-private partnerships, but sometimes we have to create a significant amount of subsidy in order to attract the private sector to be part of our recreational institution. And so I'm looking for your leadership and the leadership of the administration to look for that standalone rec center in the 2nd district.
And
Now,
Thank you,
Councilman Vitoka, I know what you're doing, and I'm okay with the county funding a rec center in the 2nd district. I am with you 100%. But let us not forget about the great work that the JCC is doing every day and what a wonderful facility it is for the community.
That's private rec. You got to pay and be a member.
I'm well aware. I'm well aware. But I'm just saying they do a wonderful job.
They do.
They're very accessible to everybody. But I'm with you on a rec center for the 2nd district. And I even know the place. The place is the old what is the hospital?
Pikeville Armory would be an outstanding place for public rec. We had other opportunities. Port City.
Got a lot of space over there at the. We'll talk about it later. Pikeville Armory is a good location. The old what's the name of the hospital? At Stevenswood. I mean the old hospital that.
Rosewood.
Rosewood. There you go. They got a lot of land over there. But anyway, any additional questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Mark.
Thank you very much. I have 2 questions. First, Ms. Johnson, if you could talk about the status of planning for the 6th Bridge Trail and for the Bierman property. There was money in the last year's budget for both those purposes. So I'll start with that.
So 6 Bridges Trail is the T is looking at. They will have money starting July 1 to start that process, and so they're going to conduct a feasibility study. So we anticipate that it will kick off around the beginning of this upcoming fiscal year. The Bierman property, also known as Girth Road, that's what we call it now, the Girth Road property. We are committed to having a community input meeting to start to move the process forward.
Okay, and we can, I know you have a lot of priorities and limited staff, but we can get that maybe moving this summer, hopefully.
We certainly have it on our list, and certainly one of our priorities. But as you mentioned, we do have many, a long list of priorities that we're trying to work through. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ms. Rogers, if I want to thank you in particular. I'm going to talk about the land swap in Kingsville, but Ms. Johnson, you've been part of that as well. And can you, I guess the question for Ms. Rogers, can you give me an update on the proposed land swap between Baltimore County and the Maryland Transportation Authority? And for my colleagues, this is an issue I've been working on for about 7 or 8 years. And this administration, to its credit, has taken it further we've ever gotten before. It involves the swap of county-owned land next to 95 with a state-owned property further down Raphael Road that makes a lot more sense for that area. So, Ms. Rogers, can you just mention that?
Sure, Council Member, I'm happy to say that deliberations between the county and the State Department of Transportation have gone well over the last few months. You're absolutely right. This particular endeavor dates back to, I believe, 2 administrations. The initial conversation started 2 administrations ago.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are at this point is planning a joint meeting with the community in the Raphael Road area to discuss what this swap would do and what impact, positive impact, if you will, it would have, particularly with respect to what the state needs to do. The state is seeking to expand their support operations out in that area to service I-95. And that would include the use of heavy trucks and equipment. The current swap itself that is proposed, of course, we're sharing this with the community, would have that operation be closer to the entrance of 95, further down on Raphael Road, as opposed to where the current state property is really far up into the community, which would mean that truck traffic 24 hours a day would go up and down Raphael Road in the middle of that community. So the swap is basically to help place that operation, the state operation, at the bottom of Raphael Road, closer to 95. And our next step is taking some time to get there. I want to thank the Recreation and Parks team, EPS, a number of departments here in the county have worked with the state, with state transportation, to really come to a point where we could have this next step of dialogue with the community.
Yeah, I really want to thank you. Like I said, this project this swap was dead under previous administrations, and the Olszewski administration deserves a lot of credit for getting it to a point where I think we can get this finished before the end of Governor Hogan's term. So obviously, I'm very interested in this. I really want to get this closed out, and you all have been very helpful, and Madam CAO, you in particular, and Ms. Johnson, thank you for all your help.
And Secretary Ports is personally involved.
Yep.
So we've
Yep.
removed all of the barriers of miscommunication or whatever it needs. What needs to be done can be done, and the teams are working in good faith. And I think everybody is in a good place right now. What we have to do is brief the community, because that's a part of any land swap. You have to talk with the community. So we propose to get that done as soon as we can over the summer.
Exactly, and like the Midge issue, this is a great example of where administrations at different levels of government, led by different political parties, can get things done. So I want to thank you all for your help on this.
You're quite welcome, sir.
Okay, are there any additional questions or comments from the members? I will just take the opportunity to thank you, Ms. Johnson. You and your team have been taking the county by storm. And I'm just very, very excited about all the improvements that have been made under this administration and all improvements we look forward to. I'm just, I think when I think about the most important things we can do, especially for our children, education, recreation, and employment. And I think we're hitting on all cylinders, and the idle mind is the devil's workshop. And we have to make sure our kids are smart, make sure they have things to do to keep them busy, and make sure they have a way of making a few dollars in their pocket. And I think this administration has been doing a great job, and you and your team is a big part of that, because you're providing the recreation for our kids to keep them busy and keep them healthy. So I'm excited about all the things that's happening in my neck of the woods, and I look at the budget, I'm excited about all the things that's happening throughout Baltimore County. So that's all good. And I think, you guys are doing a wonderful job. And I'm going to close it out unless there's some other comment or question from one of the members. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For us today, everyone.